How do you build community when you're starting over in your 30s?
Join a strong, gospel-preaching, solid church. It's the best way.
I'm not sure about that. There are a lot
It's
of
the best way.
the best way, in fact, is there are a lot of strong gospel-centered churches where you can go in and feel like a stranger every week. There are plenty of churches where you can go and every week it feels like your third Sunday there. And you feel very touched by the music and by the preaching, and you feel like nobody knows who you are. Something that was really powerful that I started doing about 5 years ago was triads, or what they're called. And basically a group of 3, you can maybe do 4 men who will get together and each week not form an accountability group, but an alliance. That's what I liked about it, was we were an alliance to walk through life together. It changed my marriage completely. It helped me see what was really going on in my heart. So I can remember Dr. Dobson a few years ago had a question from mom who said, I'm so concerned about my 7th grade child who only has 2 friends in school. And he said, rejoice if your child has 2 friends. So I would encourage you, if you can find just a couple believers and get in and do life with them, that will make a big difference, and probably a bigger difference than, I think, sitting in a church service.
But where do you find them?
It may be at that church service. It may be, and in fact, I'll tell you something. Starting the triad for me was every time it was so awkward. I mean, I had to basically see, it was almost like asking a guy on a date. You'd be like, so I'm going to start this group. We're going to talk about all the stuff in our life. And they'd be like, no, thank you. And it was so awkward. But eventually you'd grab your other 2 people, and oftentimes they were people that were nothing like me. Typically I'd have introverts in the group. And I mean, I had one group where I'm like Joshua Rogers, I walk in, they were like, so what's going on with you? And I'm like, and one of the guys came to me and was like, Jeffrey is not comfortable with this group. But we stuck it out. And 2 years later, Jeffrey was really transparent with me, and I was transparent with him. So it's actually going to take some work and some risks similar to that you would take in getting a date, actually.
Well, if you think about all the one another verses in the Bible, and this is a study Candace and I walked through our kids with just recently. I think it's 42 verses in the Bible that have the one another phrase. So love one another and all the encourage one another. And you think about it, we're called to do all that. Now, the local church is the venue in which we get the close proximity to it. We also have the opportunity, with neighbors, with groups like you're describing. I think, though, there is a primary responsibility in a local church. And the thing about the local church is that it's always going to be quirky. There's always going to be funky people in that local church, but we're called to live out the one another's. And I think the thing about community is you realize it's a fellowship we have in Christ as those who have been saved by Christ, and that's the place in which we change our view of what community is all about anyway. And we realize it's dramatically different from the sitcom world of community that's very thin, that really is meant for more of a recreational entertainment focus, that's really not built to last,
I used to feel so awkward going into a room full of people and not knowing who to sit by and walking in alone. It's always very strange. And my dad said, why don't you stop worrying about finding the best seat? And when you walk into a situation like that, look for the person who looks as uncomfortable as you feel and go up and sit next to them and just say, hi, my name's Candy. And he called me Candy because he gave me that advice when I was about 8. But it has served me so well throughout my life. And if you're going to a church and you perpetually feel like it's your third Sunday and you feel uncomfortable, look for people who look uncomfortable and go up and ask them how their week was and shake their hand and say hello, and also serve. Don't just go to be fed and to be served and to be filled. Go and say, how can I serve? Who needs help? Do you need help in the nursery? Do you need help with the overhead projector? Do you need help?
Overhead projector?
Whatever they use now. Okay, that comes from when I was 8 too, but my first movie was not Aladdin. It was Benji. Anyway, I think serving and not always looking to be filled, but looking to bless others, and really look for that person who looks as awkward and as uncomfortable as you feel, and serve them by trying to help make them less awkward.